you. And I want to start off with K-State. Because I want to know what's going on at Kansas State University. Because we get word that Will Howard has decided to enter the transfer portal. And Chris Klien is pretty much saying, you know what? My quarterback moving forward be Avery Johnson. Be a good way to get him acclimated to the starting position. But then we have this bombshell right here. And the bombshell I'm talking about is that of Colin Klien is leaving to go to SEC school. Chris Klien is suddenly in the market for a new offensive coordinator. Kansas State play caller Colin Klien has decided to leave the Wildcats after 2 highly successful seasons for the same position at Texas A&M, sources confirmed Wednesday morning. The Aggies are expected to make Klien one of the highest paid coordinators in all of college football. He was earning $825,000 in salary on a 2-year contract with the Wildcats. That's not a bad chunk of change right there, if you ask me personally. Many high-profile teams have tried to lure Klien away from his alma mater over the past year. Notre Dame made a run at Klien in February. That came after Alabama and, coincidentally, Texas A&M expressed interest when they had openings. But Klien stayed true to the place where he has spent the vast majority of his coaching career and previously starred as a quarterback until now. Texas A&M coach Mike Elko succeeded where others failed. It is not immediately clear why Klien decided this offer was too good to pass up, but money could have been a factor. K-State cannot pay him nearly as much as Texas A&M, which has some of the best resources in all of college football. The Aggies can afford to pay their coordinators more than some schools pay their head coaches. It's possible Klien is also simply looking for a new experience after a long run with the Wildcats. Klien started out as a QB coach at K-State under Bill Snyder in 2017. Then he worked his way up to offensive coordinator under Chris Klien. The Wildcats were an exciting team with Klien in control of the offense. Last year, they averaged 32.3 points and 418.8 yards per game on their way to 10 wins in the Big 12 championship. This season, K-State was even better. The Wildcats averaged 37.8 points and 446.1 yards per game on their way to 8 wins and the Pop-Tarts Bowl. Before he got into coaching, he was the star quarterback for the Wildcats. He was a Heisman Trophy finalist as a senior in 2012 and also guided K-State to a Big 12 championship. So one thing you can say is he's a proven winner and knows how to play for championships. Klien made a quick decision about his new job, sources said in an interview with Texas A&M on Tuesday, and accepted the job after a few hours of thought. Klien was in a similar situation earlier this year when Notre Dame made a push for him. He interviewed for the position but ultimately decided to return to K-State. His reasoning, I felt like after going through the process that the Lord really put it in my heart that there was still work to do here. Something was different this time around. Klien is off to a new challenge, and the Wildcats are in the market for a new offensive coordinator. It will be interesting to see where Klien goes from here. He promoted Klien the last time he needed a new offensive coordinator. There aren't any current in-house candidates at K-State with that same kind of appeal, though offensive line coach Connor Riley and tight ends coach Brian Lepak could be options. Klien may think outside the box this time. With freshman quarterback Avery Johnson ready to lead the offense for the next few years, it will be important for K-State to find a new play caller who can keep Johnson happy and take advantage of his dual threat capabilities. So I want to talk about this here momentarily. Probably not too extensive, but just enough to get you to thinking. As I said before I broke this down to you, Will Howard decides that he's going to enter into the transfer portal. I listen to talk radio on my commute home from work. I work third shift. I get off at 6 in the morning. Most times I'm the first caller in on the game plan, which is hosted by Doug Downs and Chuck Fairweather. Don't ask where he got that name from. His name is actually Eric Chesterman, but he's going by Chuck Fairweather. But that's neither here nor there. And there's a big K-State guy that calls in by the name of Joey. Yes, I'm spitting names out on my podcast because I know these people won't mind me sharing their names. But Joey's wondering what's going on at K-State, and it gets me thinking, what's going on at Kansas State? I mean, who would have thought that Colin Klien could be plucked up? I mean, granted, this is Texas A&M. It could be a money thing, and you heard in the article that Texas A&M pay their coordinators more than some colleges pay their head coaches. But I'm trying to connect the dots is what I'm really trying to do. Because right now the question is, where is Will Howard going to end up at? So I gave you the report about Will Howard last week, and you know how there is mutual respect between Will Howard and Chris Klieman. But now, with Colin Klien going to Texas A&M, you wonder, and if it happens, you heard it right here, you wonder if Will Howard is on his way to Texas A&M as well. It only makes sense because the simple fact you have a coach there that is familiar with you, and you are familiar with that coach. Now, you don't know what's coming back to Texas A&M as far as player personnel. I mean, they've had top recruiting classes year in and year out. It just hasn't panned out on the field. Now you wonder with the new coaching staff, automatically you know there's going to be some players going to hit that portal. And you know Jimbo Fisher's going to end up somewhere. But right now, you know for a fact the players are going to hit the portal because Jimbo Fisher was the one that recruited those players. There's not too much I think they know about this Mike Elko guy, no other than the fact he came from Duke. And, of course, he had Duke in the rankings this year. Duke was playing football at a basketball school. So you wonder how many of these players he can actually retain before they hit the portal, how their offensive philosophy with new coordinator Colin Klien, how will it fit their brand of play at Texas A&M, who's going to be the trigger man. My inkling tell me, don't be surprised if you see Will Howard suiting up next year as Texas A&M quarterback. I know to some of you who listen to this, it may sound far-fetched, but to me, it just makes sense. If you're going to transfer and you're going to have options, I'm pretty sure Will Howard will have options, but at the end of the day, it's about familiarity. And when you connect these dots, I see Will Howard in the Texas A&M uniform, playing for the Aggies with his familiar coach as coordinator, Colin Klien. Don't you go nowhere, because there is more to come, much more to come, right here in the zone with yours truly, Anthony Smith. What I'm going to do right here, I am going to take a break. When I come back, we will have more to get into. So don't you go nowhere. Stay locked in the zone with Anthony Smith. sometimes I really don't know what direction I'm going. I just go with the flow. And there is a recruit, a 5-star recruit. And no, he's not going to a Power 5 school either. 5-star recruit Dylan Harper announces shocking decision. 5-star recruit Dylan Harper has made his college decision, and it's a shocking one to fans of college basketball. Harper is committing to Rutgers, ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski reported on Wednesday. Though 24/7 Sports' crystal ball had projected him to choose the Scarlet Knights, hearing about a top national recruit picking Rutgers is nothing short of stunning. Harper had numerous scholarship offers and was considering Duke, Indiana, Kansas, and Auburn in addition to Rutgers. It sounds like NIL money is playing a big role in Harper's decision. Woj says Harper will make his commitment announcement from the Fanatics office in New York. Harper has a partnership with the online sports apparel giant. Harper is a 6'6" combo guard from Don Bosco Prep in Ramsey, New Jersey. He said that staying home in New Jersey factored into his decision. Harper is the son of former NBA player Ron Harper and is listed as the number 2 player in the 2024 class. In addition to Harper, Rutgers has secured a commitment from Ace Bailey, who is another 5-star recruit. So there you have some recruiting news as it relates to the son of former NBA player Ron Harper and his destination. So I want to know, do you think that NIL is playing a big role in these kids' decision as to where they will spend their college career? And is NIL going to be the trump card that may persuade players to stay put in school longer than 1 or 2 years before hitting their transfer portal? Because where I'm at here in Wichita, a lot of season ticket holders have, pretty much stopped their subscription, if you want to call it that, because this simple fact right here. They say they're tired of not knowing who their roster is going to be from year to year. You overall your roster seem like on a yearly basis, whereas back in the day, you pretty much knew what the roster was going to be from year to year. I'll give you an example. We knew that Tony Martin, Aubrey Sherrod, Antoine Carr, Cliff Levingston, Ozell Jones, Zarko. We knew who the players were going to be from year to year. Antoine stayed full 4 years. Xavier stayed full 4 years. Cliff was the one that left early, but he was a shocker. I mean, we got to know the players because they stayed put. There wasn't no, I'm unhappy, so I'm going to transfer. Granted, Greg Dreiling, who was in that class with Aubrey Sherrod and Xavier McDaniel, yes, he defected and went to the enemy school, KU. We forgive him years later. But all I'm saying is we knew who our teams was going to be. Year in and year out. So you wonder if NIL will play such a factor to where these kids will be more enticed to stay put in school. I mean, you hear rumblings of top quarterbacks who could go to the NFL and they're like, I'm not going to that team. I think I'll stay in school another year. Of course, we really have yet to see someone who has made such a decision as of such. But it remains to be seen. But just how big an impact is NIL playing? It remains to be seen. Looking at some more recruiting news here. 4-star recruit says he canceled Colorado visit because he wasn't a priority. 4-star wide receiver Nick Marsh was scheduled to make an official visit to Colorado, but decided to reverse course. He had been previously committed to Michigan State and was shopping around after the school blew out Mel Tucker. he met with new head coach Jonathan Smith and reaffirmed his commitment to the Spartans. That wasn't a story by itself. Having a kid commit to a school and then entertain offers only to return to the original commitment is very common. However, on a recent episode of This is Sparta, Marsh talked more about why he's passing Deion Sanders and the Buffaloes due to experience from a prior visit in October. This is Colorado, said Marsh. This is going to be a big time to go up to this place. And you know, they're playing USC. This is one of the biggest schools. And you know, I was thinking this was going to be like one of the best experiences of my life. But everyone is just a little Hollywood, you know. You see a lot of celebrities. You see a lot of known people. And you're just going around and you're kind of meeting everybody. And it's just like, as far as our communication and, you know, getting personal, it wasn't too much of that. You know, you're just going around and, you know, just being a known person without getting personal with anybody. I wasn't able to formally meet the receivers coach there. I wasn't formally able to meet Deion Sanders or any other stuff. You know, I was talking to a recruiting director the whole time. So, you know, at this point, I was looking for a school that was going to make me a priority. And if that wasn't the case, then I wasn't too interested. You know, no matter how big the name is, you know, no matter how much fire you're under, I want to be a priority at whatever school I was going to. So just coming back a few months later, you know, they staying in contact a little bit, but not too much communication. Still haven't got the treatment that I wanted. So got some good news from the head coach at Michigan State. And I was like, you know, I'm going to stick it out with these guys because, you know, they showed the most love. They stayed the most consistent without their communication. And I'm like, why? Why should I, you know, go to this other school that's not doing the same? So that's pretty much it. Whew, that was a lot to unpack. The takeaway from the Marsh interview is he experienced a major recruiting weekend that will weigh on his mind forever. Sanders and the Bucs will restock the roster with a second wave of talent coming from the transfer portal in the next 2 weeks. They'll also be making coaching moves after losing half of last year's staff. So that's the more recruiting news for you right there. But there's another story I want to shed some light on to you. You remember Jackson State football? Ed Reed reveals Deion Sanders wanted him to be the new coach. Then we're going to take a break after this. Jackson State football. Ed Reed reveals Deion Sanders wanted him to be the new coach. Jackson State football does not currently have a stronghold on the Southwest Athletic Conference, SWAC, the way they did while Deion Sanders was at the helm. But it still enjoyed another winning season and finished near the top of the league standings under first-year head coach T.C. Taylor, though there is a reality in which an NFL Hall of Famer could have been the one manning the sidelines for the Tigers. Super Bowl 47 champion and legendary safety Ed Reed is pulling back the curtains and revealing that he was actually encouraged to fill the vacancy left by Sanders last December, who is now working to rebuild Colorado. In fact, Primetime himself was the one who advocated for such a move, according to Reed. He said, I talked to him before that because he was like, I want you to go to Jackson State. The 2004 Defensive Player of the Year told the Pivot via HBCU Game Day, I want to give this to you and nobody else. Reed explained how he met with Jackson State's athletic director to discuss the job, but ultimately chose fellow SWAC and HBCU program Bethune-Cookman instead. His reasoning is simple. The Tigers had already ascended to the next level financially and in terms of prominence, won consecutive titles from 2021 to 2022. So why not build up the Wildcats? Those grand ambitions did not materialize, however, as Bethune-Cookman decided not to ratify the head coaching contract in January. Ed Reed had previously gone on social media rant about the state of the outdoor facilities and how his office was left unclean upon his arrival. A hypothetical tenure with Jackson State football is interesting to ponder, but former Tiger star and assistant T.C. Taylor just did a notable job in 2023 after seeing so many players leave the university with Deion Sanders. Perhaps Reed will get another opportunity somewhere else and sometime soon. So that's what went down when Deion left Jackson State and what he was really advocating for. But Ed Reed decided, you know what? I want to go a different route and build up another one. But we also know how that all played out. And it ended very ugly. As a matter of fact, it ended very bitterly. Tell you what I'm going to do right here. I am going to take another break. And when I come back, I will put the wraps on this short but sweet podcast loaded with lots of information. Hope you are enjoying being in the zone with Anthony. Be right back. Welcome back to In the Zone with Anthony as I get ready to wrap this podcast up. Get ready to take that midnight train into work. So, look like I'm back looking at this K-State situation as we shift from the gridiron to the hardwood. And Nae'Qwan Tomlin shares a cryptic Instagram story about being free. Question though is, or the saying goes, be careful what you ask for. So it's well documented. K-State forward Nae'Qwan Tomlin was arrested for disorderly conduct for brawling back in October after an incident at Tubby's Sports Bar in Aggieville. The incident resulted in an indefinite suspension for Tomlin, and he's not seen the court for the Wildcats in the time since then. Despite being asked several times in the weeks since then, the answer about Tomlin remained the same. The situation surrounding the Wildcats' leading returning scorer is being treated like a season-ending injury. This past weekend, Tomlin appeared on the bench for K-State and was allowed to cheer on his teammates at games for the first time this season. Jerome Tang was asked about Tomlin's return following the Wildcats' 75-74 overtime win against North Alabama this past Saturday night and provided an update about the likelihood of seeing Nae'Qwan Tomlin return to the court. Tang mentioned that nothing's changed regarding Tomlin's status and that the team is treating the situation like a season-ending injury. Now, 9 games into the 2023-24 season, the Wildcats are already a third of the way through the year, and Tomlin's timeline on returning hasn't changed whatsoever, and that appears to be wearing on him. On Wednesday, Tomlin shared a cryptic message in his Instagram story saying that he wants to be free. And there it is right there. You can see it. So what's going on in Manhattan, and why does it appear that Tomlin is no closer to seeing the court than he was back in October when the reports came out? Perhaps we will get a legitimate update at some point this year, but for now, the Wildcats are opting to maintain the status quo. However, in a follow-up, are you ready for this? Because it gets better. We won't have to wait till later. I'm going to give it to you right now. Nae'Qwan Tomlin no longer with Kansas State basketball. Kansas State forward Nae'Qwan Tomlin is no longer with the men's basketball team, K-State Athletic Director Gene Taylor announced in a release on Wednesday. Taylor said in the release that federal privacy laws dictate that Kansas State could not share the particulars of the situation. He said that because of that, much of what had been distributed on social media was incorrect. I have been monitoring this situation and overseeing Nae'Qwan's suspension with Coach Jerome Tang's involvement, Taylor said in the release. While we cannot share the specifics that have led to this outcome, K-State can now share that Nae'Qwan Tomlin will no longer okay, I lost my feed there. We're no longer be able to continue with the K-State men's basketball team. This decision was not made lightly by me, but it is the decision warranted by the circumstances that brought it to bear. Wednesday was an incredible day on campus, which included student protests of University President Richard Litton and Tomlin posting something on social media that simply said free. No, it said more than free. It said, I just want to be free. That's what it said. 48 hours before this announcement, K-State students at Birmingham Coliseum were chanting Tomlin's name and asking for him to be reinstated from his indefinite suspension, which stemmed from an arrest for disorderly conduct and brawling back in October after an incident at Tubby's Sports Bar in Aggieville. He has not played for the Wildcats since, and his head coach Jerome Tang said he was treating the potential return of his leading returner scorer as a season-ending injury. This past weekend, when the Wildcats faced North Alabama, Tomlin appeared on the bench for K-State and was allowed to cheer on his teammates at games for the first time this season. After the game, Tang said nothing had changed regarding Tomlin's status, but now we know he is no longer a part of the team. So whatever his next move is, we wish him the best of luck. Who knows? He could end up at a team of your rooting interest sometime soon. You never know. Who's to say that he doesn't hit the transfer portal and ends up at Wichita State given a second chance? Just a thought. Just a thought. Not saying that it's concrete. Just like, don't really quote me on saying that Will Howard be at Texas A&M. I'm just saying to me that if you connect the dots, everything lines up as thus. So, well, with that being said, I am getting ready to put a bow on this, as it is time for me to hit that midnight train to work. Hope you have enjoyed being in the zone. And I'll be back again soon. Much sooner than later. But until next time, take care of yourself and each other. I'm out.